It took me a long time to give Dynasty Warriors a shot. Despite being a long-running series that got started all the way back in 2000 with the launch of the PS2, I didn't get around to even trying one until late into the PS3 era. This wasn't by accident either. Despite loving beat-em-up and hack-and-slash games, I had actually avoided the series up to that point almost entirely because of how bad and dismissive a lot of the reviews were.
But like with all the other games in the Warriors series, you're only repeating one action over and over again in Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2. And that action isn't very amusing to begin with.
The coverage might as well have been hit pieces that had a younger and more impressionable me believing that all of Koei's output must have been shovelware, since so many reviewers seemed to hate it. Games as a medium were drastically growing and getting more complicated during the 2000s, and those reviewers had no time for anything that wasn't pushing the envelope.
No matter how many Dynasty Warriors titles Koei turns out, they keep flying off the damn shelves.
So we have to keep reviewing them.
God, we're tired of reviewing them.
You want to do this one, or do I have to?
No, I'll jump on the hand grenade.
Dynasty Warriors, according to them, had refused to evolve or innovate, and could safely be written off.
It's the same thing, so if you like the same thing and want the same thing, it's there. But if you're a more discerning player, if you're not diehard into the Dynasty Warriors, then you're probably not going to really enjoy Dynasty Warriors 5 that much, because if you played any of the other previous games, you've already played this one.
If button mashing for 30 hours is your idea of fun, you probably already own a dozen games exactly like this. Everyone else, just pass. There are better action games out there, like every other action game.
Something hardly has to be a critical darling to be worthwhile, though. As I got a little older, and hopefully a little wiser, I started to value my own experiences and opinions on media over the word of professional reviewers like XPlay or Game Informer. If a game looked fun, I decided to try it for myself, and Koei's series was catching my attention. These games have always had a very passionate fanbase, and I wanted to at least try to see what they enjoyed so much about them. I did a little bit of research to find the best jumping on point and settled on a copy of Dynasty Warriors 8, and I am so glad I did.
I shall own the battlefield! I'll grind you to dust!
This is the end! Will not be beaten!
You are powerless before me! This battle is mine! I'm gonna hurt you bad!
I hope you're prepared to die!
For the uninitiated, Dynasty Warriors is based on the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a historical fantasy novel about the Three Kingdoms period of 2nd and 3rd century China, a time of turbulence and war as the most powerful men in the land rose to fill a power vacuum caused by the weakening of the Han Dynasty's authority. The leaders of these kingdoms became legends as they fought a number of famous battles, and each Dynasty Warriors entry adapts these events into a hack-and-slash beat-em-up. As either a kingdom leader or one of their famous generals, the player will hack through literally thousands of soldiers and opposing generals while completing missions across a number of famous battles in hopes of ending the chaos.
With our might and our honor, we shall end this chaos! Let us go, my sworn brothers!
On first boot, it's easy to be impressed with how much Dynasty Warriors 8 has to offer. There's a lot of video game here. There are a total of 5 campaigns to cover the multiple sides of this intergenerational conflict. Each campaign boasts upwards of 20 stages, with some extras on top of that for unaffiliated forces. By default, the story follows a fictionalized version of history, but a really cool feature here is that each campaign also has hidden objectives you can do. Things like keeping a character alive in a battle where they historically don't make it.
Looks like I really screwed up this time. If only I had been here, he might still be alive.
Is about to reach his end.
I fight on in the name of victory. Thanks! You really saved my hide. Ganin, you mustn't be so reckless out there.
Clearing these objectives unlocks additional stages and characters for later in the story, and if you do them all, an alternate branch in the timeline for a hypothetical happier ending for that kingdom.
Enjoying yourself? Yes, very much so, my lord.
This is a really rewarding feature, and gives each of the 5 campaigns some replayability beyond attacking one of the game's many higher difficulties. Each stage you've cleared in campaign mode can also be played in the game's free mode as well. Here, you can use any character you want, regardless of allegiance. You can even play on the opposite side for most stages, even ones where the opposing force isn't part of an existing kingdom, which is a very cool bonus. Free mode also has a ranking system not present in campaign mode, and chasing those A ranks will keep completionists busy for a very long time, and I say that from experience. Story and free mode also support 2-player split-screen co-op as well, and as you can imagine, are great fun with a friend. In addition to the campaigns, DW8 also includes Ambition mode. Here, players select one of the game's 82 playable characters and engage in consecutive survival-type battles to build up a small castle town to gain the favor of the Emperor. This mode is pretty fun. Seeing your town go from dirt pit to lively burg as you upgrade your facilities with the materials found in the field is pretty rewarding. Officers defeated out in the field may also wish to learn your moves by joining you.
I was no match for you. I wish to learn your moves by joining you.
Beating a character allows you to recruit them. The generic officers can join you on the field as a bodyguard, while any of the playable cast can do the same and will also be playable in Ambition mode once found.
You seem to be a reliable person. Will you let me come with you?
The basic loop of building facilities, winning battles, finding characters, weapons, and animal companions can be quite addictive, and you can easily put as much playtime into Ambition mode as the campaigns if you do everything in it. Challenge mode is also here. These are more arcade-style challenges. Obstacle course races, consecutive officer duels, and kill count within the time limit style scoring, stuff like that. These can be fun, but are easily the least essential part of the package for me. It's cool that the mode is here though for people who like that kind of thing, and I'm never going to argue with another way to quickly get in and engage with Dynasty Warriors 8's excellent combat. And what, you might ask, makes this combat so excellent? Dynasty Warriors combat, to hear people, even people that like this series, describe it, is just mindless button mashing, right? No, not really. At its core, DW8 is a hack and slash beat 'em up game where you mow down thousands of goons. That is true. It can be a real lawnmower simulator as well if that's what you want and you stick to the lower difficulties, but this basic combat structure has been sprinkled with quite a bit of mechanical flavor that makes the game quite fun to experiment with and get good at. Let me explain. Every one of the game's 82 character roster follows the same basic combo structure. Assuming PlayStation buttons here, you have a normal attack string on your square button and a heavy, or charge attack as the game calls it, on your triangle. You can press that charge button by itself or use it as a combo ender after pressing square. Each of these charge combo enders are different and tend to result in different states for the enemies. Generally speaking, charge by itself is a guard break. Charge after a single normal attack is a launcher. Normal attack twice in a charge is a stun move, etc. X button jumps, L1 blocks, and L2 calls your horse so you can get around the map quickly. Circle is your Musou attack. Think of this like a fighting game super move. You fill up the bar by picking up item drops and doing or taking damage, and then depending on the character or the Musou in question, this can be a great way to finish a combo,
Prepare to die. You're finished.
take care of a problematic boss general,
Sweet dreams.
or clear out a group of enemies. As you level up, you unlock 3 Musous in total. They can be anything from short combos to grabs to AoEs, etc. They are different for every character, and learning how to use each character's Musous effectively is rewarding and makes each character feel very distinct. Lastly, there is the Rage meter that once filled allows access to the Rage Musou, which transforms your character into a forward-moving whirlwind of death while scooping up soldiers like a Katamari until the meter runs out.
For an opportunity to test my new tactics.
These are the basics, but what Dynasty Warriors 8 adds on top of that is what makes it truly special. In DW8, characters can actually bring 2 different weapons into battle. The moveset a character is using is determined by the weapon they have equipped, so any character using the basic sword, for instance, will use it the same way with the same attack animations as anyone else. There's 82 weapons in total, and each character has one weapon that they like best. That is that character's EX weapon. When wielding their EX weapon, every character has access to 2 attacks that only they can do with that weapon. For instance, my favorite character is Shingsai here. Anyone can use her sword and shield weapon style, but in her hands, she can end combos in an AoE that buffs her, and perform this cool shield surfing move. These EX attacks are huge and can really open up the way a character uses a weapon. This system makes each character still feel very unique, while giving the player the freedom to swap around movesets if the character they are using has a weapon or EX moves they don't much care for. Players can bring their favorite weapon along with everyone if they want, or use different movesets that complement each other or their character in ways they enjoy. Adding to the EX weapons, characters are further differentiated by one of 4 different attack types. When using a weapon that matches their type, that character can perform a special action unique to the type in question once leveled up enough. The 4 types are Dash. This allows the character to jump cancel attacks and perform a double jump air dash. Great for combo extensions and general movement. You can also do some really techy and goofy movement with it by canceling certain things. Dive. Usually when knocked down, tapping the block button as you hit the ground will get you back up to your feet. Dive type characters can press the jump button to escape hit stun entirely. Impressive. Shadow Sprint. This one gives access to a very powerful forward advancing charge move. This thing does tons of guard damage and juggles super well. Perform it by canceling a charge attack with a normal attack. Whirlwind. This is the hard hitter type. Strong gusts accompany attacks performed with these weapons. The winds break guard and do extra damage when connecting. Simple, but effective.
To accept defeat. I suppose we'll just have to keep fighting until you're convinced.
These are honestly all cool in their own way, and each one adds another layer to using your character of choice that really opens up the combat in ways that may not be immediately apparent when first starting the game. You have to unlock your character's type skill by leveling up, and I think gating that theoretical higher level of play behind a little bit of playtime like that may be a mistake. Stuff like dash canceling is the kind of thing that could pull in more technically minded players, but the game not showing it off up front could result in people playing a little and bouncing off the more basic gameplay before they even have access to it, which would be a shame.
What are you worried about? Simply carry out your duty, and everything will take care of itself.
When you start putting it all together though, you can get up to some really cool stuff. Like this. I will say again though, 82 playable characters, each with their own unique Musos, EX attacks, and combine them with the mix and match movesets, switch attacks, and type moves. For me personally, I find most of the characters enjoyable in their own way, but everyone is going to have favorites. When you find that aesthetic and gameplay mix that clicks, it's a lot like having a main in a fighting game, and there really is someone here for everyone. We got tough guys, tough girls, pretty guys, fancy guys, old guys. I think this guy's a vampire.
Fear me.
We got Lu Bu, a guy with a pirate hat, a wizard, tiger dad, and grown ass women. The fact that anyone can wield any weapon can also lead to some pretty funny looking stuff if you feel so inclined. It doesn't have to be about what's most effective here. You can play for effectiveness or other aesthetic concerns. It's all very customizable.
Hooray for me! This place is now mine!
That customization also extends to DW8's loot and weapon crafting system as well. Random weapons can be looted from officers on defeat, and in addition to having different looks and damage values that you would expect with different rarities, elements are also present on these drops. These can range from elemental effects like igniting, shocking, or freezing enemies, to base attack speed increases or sapping health when doing damage. While the weapon will drop with random elements on them, elements can be added, replaced, or upgraded at the game's blacksmith by cannibalizing weapons you don't need. This is actually a very robust system, and you can make RPG-esque builds out of the weapons this way. A weapon could lower your character's defense for increased attack power, but also drain health on hit, or another could stack increased Musou damage and restore a chunk of that same Musou bar with every kill. Maybe another weapon freezes or slows enemies to get high damage combos with the flurry or flash elements. The system can also help shore up weaknesses with the moveset, like adding the velocity element to slower weapons for faster attack speed, or explosions to more narrow movesets to give them better AoE potential. You can combine 6 elements on a weapon, and building the best version of a favorable weapon can be so satisfying. Through the system, you can have multiple copies of the same weapon that all play quite differently, and it's very fun to experiment with. There's also secret weapons you can find for each moveset by performing certain feats in the game with the characters who use them. These things are quite powerful and pretty fun to get. In addition to weapon crafting, we also have the skill system. Things like health, or attack boosts, or even higher item drop rates and experience gain up can be gained and equipped across all characters. These are earned and leveled up by doing specific things in battles, like defeating officers while low on health, or from atop your horse. It's one more thing to think about during officer fights, and I like that these carry across all characters like the weapons do. Combined, these can make starting at level 1 with a new character much smoother as you work toward the level cap of 150, and adding these skills in with your weapon elements can make for some great build combinations. In addition to the elements, each weapon also has a heaven, earth, or man label as well. This is the 3-point system. The weapons you equip, as well as the ones enemy officers are using, fall under these same 3 designations. Think rock, paper, scissors. While out doing battle, you'll need to keep an eye on which of the 3 you and your opponent have. When you have matching elements, you fight as normal. If you are beating them, the gauge above them will deplete as you combo or force them to block your strikes, opening them up for a powerful Storm Rush attack. If they are beating you though, you will see this danger sign above their head. This means they cannot be staggered, and can be quite hard to deal with in that state. This is why it's important to bring 2 weapons of different types, so you can switch to a more favorable one if yours is outmatched. If you switch in time with an opponent's heavy attack, you will even perform this cool switch counter move. This is an awesome addition to the basic hack-and-slash gameplay of DW8, and always has you thinking when you approach an enemy officer, and makes engaging groups of officers with different weapon types very tricky. The higher difficulties really necessitate the use of the system alongside some good weapon builds to claim victory. The combat stuff is all very cool, but that isn't the entire gameplay experience either. It's a lot of it, but in Dynasty Warriors 8, you are not the only one out there on the battlefield. You're part of, or leading an army. The cool thing about the way the levels are structured is that go beat everyone up is pretty rarely your only objective. It's usually just a little more tactical than that.
Spare us what we already know. Tell us your plan.
Please, allow me. At the moment, the 2 crossings at Bai Ma and Yanjin are under the control of Yuan Chao's forces. We start by raiding these locations. If we succeed in taking them, then we will have our bridgehead.
Okay. I'm sure the enemy aren't going to just let us take them, though.
Quite right. Which is where our diversion comes in.
There's often bases or vantage points you have to take, or key officers or strategies being run that you have to protect.
Wipe out any enemies who stand in our way. We must keep the Emperor safe.
When a huge ballista starts firing on your advancing forces, or an ally runs into an ambush, it will usually be on you to be the deciding factor and help out.
Master Liu Bei is in danger. We must get rid of the archer unit atop that hill.
The morale bar up above the map gives the bigger picture of how the fight's going, and your AI companions will not be able to hold their own if it's too low and your army is getting destroyed everywhere you're not. You may be a rampaging death machine, but none of that matters if an enemy cavalry gets into your main camp unmolested and takes your commander's head.
Cao Cao, you devil! Prepare to die!
No! My lord!
I won't let anyone get close to my lord, Cao Cao!
This is the main reason, outside of the combat depth, that I push back on the idea that these games are mindless. Sure, they can be super easy on lower difficulties, but Dynasty Warriors gameplay is just as much running around the map and putting out figurative and sometimes literal fires as it is getting high KO counts. The progress through loot and leveling, soldiers flying everywhere as you rampage through a fight, and the movements of the armies and the battlefield itself really flavor and elevate the beat-em-up gameplay. All of that together is what makes this kind of experience engaging, and calling it mindless or mashy is reductive in a way I've never really been able to vibe with. Beating up a bunch of dudes isn't the whole point of the gameplay, even if it is a big part of it. When I think of what I enjoy about Dynasty Warriors 8, it's that forward progression, completing and unlocking new stages, getting new skills, mounts, leveling up my characters, building new weapons, and expressing myself through the combat. A lot of the same stuff that makes so many looters, RPGs, and beat-em-ups fun are combined right here in this game, and it all comes together super well, especially on the higher difficulties where you really have to lock in to be successful. We should talk about the presentation though. I'm playing the Steam version here, but it's worth noting that no matter what version of Dynasty Warriors 8 you get, it's a game from 2013. From a graphical fidelity standpoint, even when it came out, this game was never exactly a looker. Mostly that's because priority one when making a game like this isn't making super detailed eyeballs to zoom in on or fruit stands to shoot at and complain about. The goal for any Dynasty Warriors game is always going to be getting as many soldiers as they can on the screen. They did that and I'm happy with it. I'm sorry if graphics matter a whole lot to you, but I've just never been someone who needs top-of-the-line graphics to enjoy my games. There are some things that stand out, like how ugly the water is, and the frame rate can dip during busier moments, but none of that has ever been bad enough to detract from the experience for me, and if you are a graphics-first kind of person, this series in general probably just isn't for you. Graphical fidelity, of course, is not the same as art direction, and I will say I quite like a lot of what this game does visually. The environments and lighting are very evocative of the setting they're going for. The snow-covered Shapi, Guandu at night, Hefei at sunset. I feel a real sense of place with these stages, and think all things considered, they look great. The character and weapon designs are also standout. Stuff like armor and capes look especially cool, but most of the outfits have these little ornate details that make the designs really pop. I would highly recommend checking out some of the character art for this game if you appreciate that kind of thing, because it's top notch. You know what else is top notch? The soundtrack. If you describe the Dynasty Warriors series to me before I had a chance to see and hear it, power metal is the last thing I would think of to score a game about ancient Chinese warfare, but this sounds so good, and it's one of my favorite soundtracks, bar none. Wailing guitars mixed with flutes and the like to add to the over-the-top action in a way that really brings the whole experience together. If this doesn't get you pumped, you probably need to check your pulse. Storytelling is a little more of a mixed bag. Unlike a lot of later Warriors titles, DW8 does have an English dub, and pretty much every big name in that industry, from Johnny Young Bosch,
Leave it to me. I'll lead the troops to victory.
to Yuri Lowenthal,
Leave it to me. I know a thing or two about capturing bases.
is present and accounted for. The dub has a kind of kung fu movie vibe, and it works for me.
Prepare yourself. Zhang Liao, wasn't it? Nice to see you again. You, Gan Ning.
What are you doing? I can handle him alone.
You reckon? It's not in my nature to leave a friend in trouble, though.
A friend?
Yeah, friend. Everyone who fights on the same side should be friends.
Everything's so simple for you. I kind of like that.
I can see it being an obstacle for some to get invested, as some characters can be quite wooden, but just as many do a fantastic job and really embody their characters. Jameson Price's Lu Bu is easily my favorite of them.
I plan on bringing a swift end to all of this nonsense!
Despite some of the weaker performances, I still found myself getting invested in DW8's characters. The narrative doesn't really present a clear good or bad guy here, just people with different ideals, and each campaign gives a good chance to get to know them and see where they are coming from. It's easy to grow to care for an ally, just to see them as a fearsome enemy when you play through another kingdom's story. This is war after all, and after so many battles, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel some kind of way about certain deaths and betrayals as they happen.
My lord!
I found it pretty easy to like most of the cast, and while I don't mind subs in my Warriors games, the dub here does make it easier to follow along with exchanges that happen mid-mission.
We've reclaimed the island. Now, let's use the pyro cannons that were inside.
I gotta say that I love the tone the game strikes overall though. Everyone here is taking everything deadly seriously, but that doesn't stop these ancient Chinese characters from wielding things like jet engine spears, magical floating swords, and boats with a complement of wrestling moves. The game just knows when to be serious and when to get out of your way and let the player have fun. One of my favorite characters is even kind of a meta joke. Han Dong here has been a generic officer since Dynasty Warriors 2. Here in 8, he's a full-fledged character, but he's got a complex about being forgotten or not standing out enough. Like he has PTSD from years of being a generic officer in the other entries, and that's genuinely hilarious.
Hey, stop getting everyone's attention. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Hey everyone, look, it's Han Dong. He's famous.
There's even some fun theme stages here, like Seamasher's quest for the perfect meat bun. The tone is a great mix of the serious and the absurd, and it just really works for me.
Hey, come back here. Ah!
Do not misunderstand me though. Dynasty Warriors 8 is not a game for everyone. For a lot of people, what this game is doing is pretty far from what they expect a modern or even a good video game to be. It doesn't have slow dramatic walking or top-of-the-line graphics, and in that way, some of those more negative reviews make some sense to me, even if many of them are needlessly close-minded. This is a team willing to sacrifice a more mainstream appeal for the sake of a gameplay vision, and that vision is a power fantasy based in Chinese history, not some technical showpiece or wannabe movie. Dynasty Warriors 8 is not an innovative sequel. It's iterating on a formula that Omega Force has been working with since the year 2000, and for some, that is going to be more and more unacceptable as the years roll on. There's old blood pumping through this beast, but it has kept alive for a reason. Because the dedication to this singular vision of making the best ancient China-themed hack and slash has culminated in a real winner with Dynasty Warriors 8, even over a decade from its original release. Fun and expressive combat with enough content to keep busy for days, and fun character progression to keep you locked in. This is one of my favorite games, and if you're like I was and looking for a spot to dip your toes in, hopefully you've got enough info from this video to know if this is the kind of game you would enjoy. It's true, Dynasty Warriors 8 isn't innovative, but not every game needs to be. Sometimes they just need to be fun. If this looked even a little fun to you, you really should play Dynasty Warriors 8.
Do not pursue Lu Bu.